You're listening to the Light Novel Podcast. Visit us online at lightnovelpodcast.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Light Novel Podcast. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a series that has, well, a lot of people have a lot of opinions about. That will be JK Haru is a sex worker in another world. We're going to be talking about the first book and then the sequel novel called Summer, which I kind of thought was kind of weird because there was only one story in the whole damn book about summer, but whatever, doesn't matter. In any case, we'll be talking about those tonight. Obviously, the title speaks for itself in terms of the fact that there's going to be some more adult, questionable material discussed. We probably won't go, too crazy on that kind of stuff.
Speak for yourself.
It's there, so it's there. So obviously, if things like rape, sexual violence, and stuff like that is absolutely abhorrent to you, this is probably not the podcast that you want to participate in. But you know what? There is actually some very good story stuff going on in this, which is why we're going to be talking about it. First up, tonight with me, I have Flies.
Animated adaptation in the works.
I have Bio Gundam.
Rise up! Rise up! You have nothing to lose your change and overthrow the shackles of the patriarchy.
Okay, I've got Sean Luke.
This podcast is rated R.
And I have Terrence.
What's up?
Terrence keeps it straight, man. What's up?
Normal.
You normie? What are you doing here? No, just kidding.
It's for the balance.
Yes, that's right. He's like bringing balance to the force in this podcast. All right. So we're, you know what? January was a really slow month for actual news.
Well, January, January is more like, if you look at anime, like January is more like the month to get everyone horny and shit, and February, like the winter seasons to get everyone horny and shit. Like, you don't get, like, the blockbusters until, like, spring and summer.
Nobody cares about that, dude, because you know what? Interspecies reviewers got canceled and, clearly... Anyway, we just talked at length about that. We'll leave that topic alone. And besides, it's not a light novel yet.
There are light novels.
I know there are. There's two of them so far. And we're actually getting one in English. I am curious. Given what the anime did, I'm curious to know what the light novel is going to do. In any case, first up...
Full color illustrations.
Oh, man. No, I don't think so, but I'm sure there'll be some illustrations for sure. Anyway, so there's really... I'm just going to talk about three things that I think will be of most interest to people. First off, a series that a number of us have enjoyed and that we've actually done a podcast on. A Sister's All You Need. It's ending on the 14th volume, which is coming out in February. So probably at about the time that you're listening to this podcast, that series is over. And
And I cried.
And FYI, the cover of the 14th volume is a huge spoiler. Huge. Crap.
So if you don't like being spoiled, avoid it at all costs.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty damn hard. I didn't even go looking for it, and it showed up at least 10 times in my different feeds. I was like, Anyway. So that is coming to an end. So if you've been following that series, there's only, 6 out in English right now?
The sixth one just came out like a few days ago.
You're right. So you've still probably got at least another 2 years or so before we are finished that thing here in North America or an English release. Two other things that are coming out that are of interest. Log Horizon, after 5 years, is getting a third season. And it's even...
Database, getting hyped in the database. Whoa.
If they don't bring that opening back, I'm going to be very disappointed.
There's going to be riots, man. Riots. That's the third season for that one. It's already been announced that it's coming out in October, which I found kind of funny because I was like, I'm a spider, so I'm a spider, so what? That thing was announced like a year ago. We still don't have an actual release date. They're still just talking 2020. And this one, it's like just came out of nowhere. All of us were like, what? Log Horizon's
Whatever
getting
it
another
takes
season.
to fix that terrible CGI in that trailer. I'll wait as long as it takes.
That is probably what's held it up.
Now, the question I want to ask is that when any more light novels going to get translated to English? Because I do know that he's working on it, but
Well, I think the problem is they're only releasing. So, if you're not familiar with the whole Log Horizon thing, the author kind of didn't bother doing his taxes for a long time, and got arrested.
taxation is theft.
And got arrested and thrown in prison. So there was kind of a little hiccup in the release schedule of Log Horizon.
Was it prison or was he under house arrest, I think?
No, I'm pretty sure he actually did some time, because I think that was the whole thing, was that, like, because even on the web novel, he's only, I think, up to around the 14th volume. So he obviously wasn't writing for a while there. So I don't know, either there was something went on, whether it was house arrest, he was actually in prison, I don't know, but I know that there was basically, Log Horizon ceased. The publisher ceased publishing any new volumes because nothing really was coming out. In the past couple years, he's apparently written, I think, about enough material on the web novel to be up either to 14 or 15 volumes. Japan, the 12th volume is only just coming out. So even the Japanese publishers are lagging behind where he's written up to. So we've got the 11th volume out in English. So really, we have everything in English that's currently out in Japan. So we're caught up. It's just we're waiting on the Japanese publisher to keep publishing the web novel material that he's got. So I don't know what's...
Yeah, we're caught up. It's the author that isn't.
So exactly. It's like right now it's really at the mercy of the author and the Japanese publisher. It has nothing to do with, for once.
You know who I feel bad for?
Who do you feel bad for?
No Game No Life fans. Because if Log Horizon can get a third season after all this shit, then why can't No Game No Life get a season 2 after just some simple tracing conspiracy?
Well, you see, the author got a lot of street cred. He got 100 plus respect with this certain particular gang after being in the slammer like MC Hammer.
We did get it, actually. We at least got the No Game No Life movie a couple years ago,
which was successful.
Did well, yeah, and it was pretty decent. I think the book I still think was a little bit better, but really, like, for a movie, the adaptation was not bad, and it was certainly, like, visually, it was pretty awesome. I was lucky enough to see that one in theaters, so it was really good. So yeah, I don't understand why. Like, I get that Kamiya, who writes No Game No Life, is like one of the most undependable authors in terms of getting stuff written. Like, everything the guy has ever worked on is just kind of like dribbles out. Like Clockwork Planet just kind of hasn't gone anywhere for a while. No Game No Life has like years between volumes. Like, it's weird. I don't know. I know he's had a ton of health problems, which I know impacted a lot of it, but still, I don't know.
Yeah.
If only he had like something like a scribe or something to write the shit down, like he speaks and they write it down for him.
Well, I know that he and his wife is a mangaka, right? So I know he and his wife actually worked on the manga of No Game No Life. So I don't know why. Like, I would think that he could probably write even being ill, and maybe he should turn the illustration duties over to her. Because that seems to be what he always like kind of complains the most about doing. If you read the afterwards and stuff, but I don't know. Yeah, but I agree with you, Flies. It is kind of funny. It's like you've gone so long without a second season of No Game No Life, and there are way more volumes to cover in a new season of No Game No Life compared to what they're covering in Log Horizon. Like, this third season is basically going to be I think somebody was saying that the 13th volume that's on the web, there's certain titles in it that suggest some of that material is actually being incorporated into the new season.
Some people think they're going to adapt web novel stuff into the anime, but like, why are people implying that the anime is going to get a 2-core season?
Oh, I don't know why they.
It could
I
very
don't think
much
it's
get a
gonna
one
two
core season.
Well, I think they're probably only thinking that because the first 2 seasons were 2 core each, but I don't see that happening. Not for the amount of material they have right now. I mean, they did 10 novels over, 44, 48
Like
episodes?
50 episodes.
Yeah, so over 50 episodes. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically talking like, so you've done 10 volumes over that. So you've got 5 episodes roughly per volume. I mean, we've got 2 volumes that are out. That's 10 episodes. I mean, that's basically a core, right? Give or take
Like
a
they
couple
might get
episodes.
3 volume. Like if volume 13 comes out in time, they might adapt 3 volumes.
Like maybe, right? Well, because apparently I guess volume 11 features Krusty, and it's not really tied into the main story as much is what I've heard. I haven't read it myself.
I've only read up to volume 4, and I didn't even watch season 2. So
Oh, okay. Well, I did watch the whole thing.
Yeah, well, Krusty goes AWOL for
Yeah.
a bit, like he's just missing, and then he shows up later.
Yeah, and I think volume
Because,
11
like,
shows what he's been doing.
Krusty's that type of Krusty's that type of character where he'll like show up and then fuck off to God knows where, and he'll show up again. And it's like, oh, there you were, Krusty. He's like, yeah.
So,
I don't even
yeah,
remember anything about Log Horizon.
well, I mean, it's only been 5 years. I mean, come on. But yeah, it was it was a weird announcement just out of nowhere. Everybody was like, huh? But well, whatever. And then the last thing I'll just mention, because we're actually getting this light novel in English, Kuma Bear is getting an anime.
Oh, so the Adventures of Female Shu.
Yes.
You're better off watching Infinite. You're better off watching Infinite
Oh,
Dendrogram.
I'll
Hell
judge.
no, she's adorable.
She is
Have
very
you seen
cute.
her?
Come on, she's cute, dude.
I am being very serious
Well,
right now.
I understand you're serious, but she is cute. I'll give her that. 15-year-old Yuna prefers staying home and obsessively playing her favorite VR MMO game to doing anything else, including going to school. When a strange new update gives her a one-of-a-kind bear outfit that comes with overpowered abilities, Yuna is torn. The outfit is unbearably cute, but too embarrassing to wear in-game. But then she suddenly finds herself transported into the world of the game, facing down monsters and magic for real, and the bear suit becomes the best weapon she has. So, I mean, I don't know, man. You know what? Yes, she is adorable. The character design is quite cute, and it just I don't know. Like, I haven't seen too much about this series, probably because it's not out in English yet, but it strikes me what I have seen of it. A lot of people, it seems to be kind of like that kind of heartwarming, fun, enjoy kind of thing. I don't know. We'll see. Apparently, that new Shield Girl anime is pretty good. It's I've been seeing a lot of positive sort of stuff about that. What is that?
Yeah, and I think I think that show, I think Infinite Dendrogram's being snubbed because of it. I'm like, oh.
I mean, it's definitely the better of the two, honestly, but I wouldn't say it's being snubbed. It's completely different studios and everything.
Well, I don't know. I think
because Dendrogram's being done by Studio Naz, but they hired outside people to work on their other show, which is a really good show, and they have their in-house guy working on Dendrogram. And if you've seen the in-house guys, his reputation and the shows he's made, it's already a red flag anyway.
Oh well, I don't know. I mean, whatever. Dendrogram certainly, definitely, it's a great light novel series to check out. I want to get caught up on it. So.
I just finished the second volume, which was a huge
Yeah.
improvement to the first,
The
in my
11th
opinion.
volume.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
can't wait for the anime to shove it into 2 episodes, the entire book.
Oh yeah, I think the 11th volume is just being released this month in Japan, and we're going to get the 10th volume shortly. So I'm looking forward to that as well, because the 10th volume has Figaro, the King of the Shu, and I think and it has the cult chick in it as well, so that's going to be great.
The religious chick.
Yeah, the religion chick, she's great.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, right? Like the issue is that anime. I don't know. I still like. We were talking about this. We were actually, I mean, mentioned Log Horizon. We said Log Horizon, for most of us, is probably one of the better, at least especially the first season, is one of the better light novel adaptations in terms of being not only faithful to the light novel, but also having the visual aspect of it, I felt kind of added a lot to the series.
Well, I think Log Horizon's like, it's a show that you can watch, and even if you didn't know there was like more source material, like even if you didn't know it was like more shit to it, you'd be like, oh, this was a pretty good show. Like, it's a show that stands up on its own merits.
You're right. Yeah, it's not like one of those shows where you sit there and you're scratching your head going like, none of this makes sense. There has to be more to this than what I'm seeing on screen. So,
like, especially where it ended off. Like, it ended off kind of like, it had like an open sort of ending where there's more out there. So obviously it does have sort of that, like, read the light novel kind of ending, but it doesn't feel like an advertisement for the light novel. It's like, there is more out there.
Because the only reason it ended that way is because that's all the author wrote, because then he got busted.
Dendrogram just comes off as like a cash grab because the light novel's popular. So they put in like the minimum effort for the anime.
Oh, is that how you think it that's what it seems like?
And from what I heard, the first arc doesn't end until volume 5, so you kind of have to adapt that far. But then once they got only one core approved, you already know it's going to be a fuck up. You can't like it's going to be a Danmachi all over again.
Yeah. I guess the best you can hope for is that it brings people to the light novels.
Yeah, well, that seems to well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
The only thing that pisses me off about it is that
I think they could if they had like, I think 18 episodes, they could probably, or 20 episodes, they could cover like all 5 books.
Every anime should just be like Bookworm, where it gets a random, uncommon amount of episodes that's just enough time to adapt exactly what they want to adapt.
Yeah, you know what? Like, that is kind of the thing, eh? Like, it seems to me like they're so beholden to that 12 or 13 episode core that you just, and that, it has to fit perfectly into that sort of 3-month block, that you don't see a lot of series that, they stretch it or whatever, right? Like, to me, I mean, that I would rather a series do like, say, hey, we're only going to do 10 episodes because we're not going to put any filler BS in this. Or, I'd rather see a series go, you know what, we're going to do 18 episodes, a season, a core and a half, because we really need that.
Like, look at Boogie Pop.
Boogie Pop?
The Boogie Pop anime last year had 18 episodes, and like during some parts of it, they aired like 3 episodes in the same day. So like it was 18 episodes, but it fit in 3 months of airtime.
You know how I would do like the Infinite Dendro anime if we're only given like 12 episodes? I would just adapt the first 3 books and then adapt the first 3 books, because then it can end on a cliffhanger. Yeah. Because like fucking Dr. Franklin shows up and people are like, oh shit, what's going to happen?
Yeah, well, it would have made more sense. And they would have had, and honestly, they probably would have had a better shot at getting approval for another core than to do the next couple books, than cramming 5 books and like.
And then they could make like, then they could do like the other 2 books in like, say 12 to 6 episodes, because a lot happens in those other 2 volumes. Like a lot of good action and fighting and shit. Like, that could be, like, if they're doing, like, a 2-core show, that would be how I would do it. Like, first 12 episodes will be, like...
Aren't 3 through 5 pretty short?
No, 25...
Like, aren't 3 through 5, like, just the whole tournament stuff?
No, number 3 is Figaro and the Jiangshi, or the Jiangxi, and they're, like... So they could cover that in 12 episodes, like, books 1, 2, 3, and then for the next of it, they could do, like, Franklin's game and the Franklin battles, because there's some epic shit that happens in that, and I think it would require more episodes.
Well, I mean, dude, when you figure, like, Naruto or Bleach can do a single battle that's almost inconsequential for 3 episodes. Like, I'm pretty sure they could have, like, a massive war that goes on and shit like that. They could extend that for a couple, like, for, a single core. Or, like you said, you just tack on, like, another, like, 8 episodes, just do like a 20 episode run. But anyway, whatever. You know what? I mean, we can talk.
I mean, we're currently in sort of like make believe territory right now, which makes me even more depressed.
I know, right? You're like, if I ran this industry, I tell you. But I mean, all of these.
I mean, at least it looks okay. At least it looks okay. Like it could be worse. At least it doesn't look like the fucking manga. Like, holy shit.
I've only seen the cover of the manga version. It looks pretty bad.
Yeah, well,
holy Holy shit!
I know, we saw an image from it, remember, back in the day, and we were all like, what the hell is that? Anyway. Okay. So, anyway, that's all I'm going to do for the news, because pretty much there's not really any heavy light novel stuff other than that. So, let's get to JK Haru. Yeah. Okay, so, JK Haru is a sex worker in another world. This one is one of those ones where the title basically tells you everything you need to know. JK Haru, she gets taken to another world and becomes a sex worker, like that. Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So, starts off with your typical thing. Truck-kun, once again, is our villain. And then we have Haru, who is this popular...
Who will stop this evil mastermind from destroying lives?
Right? Seriously.
Such a terrible evil.
Well, I mean, our massive chuny Chiba, who's one of Haru's classmates, thinks he could.
Piece of shit.
Fuck him. Shithead.
So he so anyway, Truck-kun's bearing down on Haru, and Chiba, in one moment of gallantry, thinks he can save her, and nope, they both get plowed, and wow, I shouldn't have used that term given what happens.
He doesn't get not plowed in the good way.
We're going to be using that term plenty.
Anyway, so anyway, they die, and they go to another world, and Chiba is initially set up to be the very prototypical male protagonist of an isekai. He's, a warrior and has all sorts of cheat abilities. He can gain levels faster than other people, and he's got resistances to status changes and blah blah blah.
Yeah, but the problem is that he as a person is so fucking weak and lacking of character that it really doesn't matter how strong he becomes. Like, he's just a fucking shitbag.
And he doesn't even want to work at it. Like, he could lift weights. He could do all sorts of things to help himself out. But nah.
Yeah, like he's
like the main character of this anime. He needs to be OP.
It's like,
where's my magic
what
powers?
he reminds me of? He's like a more assholeless version of like the heroes from Shield Hero. Like,
You know what I love about this? I haven't even finished talking about what this is about, and we are like crap talking Chiba. Like, this is going to be a big topic, I'm sure.
The thing is,
anyway,
I fucking absolutely hate him. Like, he's a fucking pathetic loser.
I don't think he ever gets redemption.
I feel like they try to give him.
Yes,
they try to give him two redemptive arcs. Especially at the end of this one.
Tried.
Yes, at the end of summer, but
I personally didn't buy it.
Well, okay, so
they tried and failed. Like,
he's
fuck
like
that guy.
this typical geek that when he gets to another world, he thinks that he's gonna be exactly like his favorite character. Like, he doesn't have to move a finger and everything will come to him. But it's not what happens. But he still act like it's supposed to be that way, and that's what bugs me.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so fucking lazy and shit. I mean, he goes to a gladiatorial arena, but literally what he does is he trains up so he's strong enough to beat the guy so it's no challenge, but he doesn't do it too quickly because he doesn't want anyone to see him as a threat. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're squandering the gift that God gave you. Like, go out there and explore the world, find companions and friends, stop fucking around in some gladiator arena in some dead horse fuck town.
No, but if he did that, then he couldn't convince Haru to be his sex partner.
His slave.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, so
hey, yo, Haru, I know you don't like what life's bringing you, but I can free you. You'll just have to fuck me on the daily.
Oh my god. Okay, so okay, so Chiba's going to be.
This is not going to get monetized.
Oh, dude, this thing's demonetized before it even gets finished uploading.
the title, as soon as you start uploading, the algorithm's going to see the title and going to be like, yeah, that's a
big
nope.
hard nope. Yeah, that's true.
Please donate to Justus on his Patreon. He needs to get a new Xbox for his son.
No, my kid plays PlayStation. It's all good. I don't need.
He needs a PS5.
Superior.
You run. Donate $100.
Actually, no. Legit, what I really need is a new laptop because this one's starting to like lag on me when I try to like do stuff. But anyway, whatever.
You hear that, patrons? Your Lord and Savior needs more shekels.
Oh man.
YouTube's fucking him up the ass.
So Another topic we can talk about in JK Haru. Anyway, so Chiba gets those abilities, and then Haru basically gets nothing. She can't read the language. She can't. Write.
She quote unquote gets nothing.
Well, we're gonna get there. I don't want to jump right into that spoiler right out of the gate.
The big twist.
So basically, she realizes that in this world that they find themselves in is horribly misogynistic, and that women basically have three roles: slave, wife, or prostitute. And so Haru decides that she probably would not be treated very well as a slave. She certainly doesn't want to be a wife because that's, in this world, that's basically like being a prostitute, but you don't get paid. So she's like, I'll be a prostitute. And basically, the story kind of tells about her life as a prostitute and the people she meets. And eventually, yes, there is a twist in the first volume, which we will most definitely talk about.
Yeah, and what I really like about JK Haru is it doesn't like fucking sugarcoat like the prostitution shit. Like when I'm reading it,
the very first page.
You didn't let me finish, dude. Let me finish. Like it doesn't romanticize it or glorify it in any way. Like when you read when I'm like reading it, I feel like a sense of disgust, but also an odd sense of arousal at the same time. Like this is supposed to be hot, but at the same time, it's like it doesn't sugarcoat it. It's just this is kind of disgusting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was gonna say that it doesn't ease into the lewd stuff. Like from page 1, it makes it pretty clear that this is not something to be read in public.
My stomach was like churning. Like the first things they're talking about are using the Luvia grass. Yeah.
I was like, I had to take a double take.
Like I was like, damn.
Like, you got to make sure you rub it in there, or else you don't want to get pregnant.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
also make sure to clean it out as well. So.
Oh, that was the part I was just like, this is just
No, but I'm like, that explains why in every hentai no girls ever get pregnant. They just have this shit.
It's like magic birth. It's like birth control, but not.
Seriously, like my first impression of the book, like when I started reading it, like the fact that about every chapter in the beginning is about like her and a new like customer, like it kind of read like not a review, but like a documentary on
like a short story volume.
But like romanticized,
I see
like
what you're saying. Yeah,
not exactly the same as like a documentary, but still.
Yeah, it's more like it initially starts off, and you get the impression that it's more of a discussion about the plights of being a prostitute, and that you have your nice customers and your obviously horrible customers. There's instances where Haru is assaulted, choked. She has long hair at the beginning and she cuts it because of the pain, because so many guys were pulling on her hair. Like it discusses a lot. Yeah, like I know what you mean. Like they're like little vignettes. It's like just this is this customer and what his kinks are and stuff initially. Yeah, I yes, there's no sugarcoating in this book. It is explicit, but it really, I mean, aside from maybe the like I can't remember how many chapters are in the book, but there's probably at least like 7 or 8 times that you see Haru in sex in this book, and there's probably twice that she actually likes it. And even then it's not really written in any way that's meant to make you hot in any kind of way. And most of the others, it is blunt and in a lot of cases repulsive. It's like no sugarcoating.
Yeah, for a book where like most of the content is all sex, nothing really came out as like actually really sexy, at least to me.
Same here as well, and I think that really reflects like the main character Haru. Like she's very feisty, and she very much like says it like it is. And I actually really like her as a protagonist. Like she's got enough of that sort of she's got she's got enough feistiness where you can actually believe it. Like, yes, like Haru is actually like a woman that you could meet in real life. She's got that sort of feistiness to her, and I'm just like, man, damn girl, I wish I knew you in real life. You'd be fun.
And when you learn,
like
Sure.
the very first sex scene with
Chiba.
like I like her commentary since she knew him in her original life and she has experience and she knows that he doesn't, that he's like some pathetic virgin who likes to talk big. Like I like her monologues while they're doing it, and she's just like, this tiny dick little bitch thinks he's all that. He could barely last 60 seconds. I'll just pretend to get him off so he can go back to being pathetic and thinking he's like a tough guy or whatever.
Isn't that,
Like, it
isn't
feels
that most
realistic.
of the male characters in this cast? Like, they all act like they're tough guys, but really they're just like a bunch of pussies with ego problems.
yeah,
Yes.
Not the two male characters that I actually
Well,
liked.
okay. Yes.
I said most, not all.
You know, well,
Yeah.
I'd be curious. Who are the two male characters you like?
The Rain Man
Okay.
and
Sumo.
the cook guy.
Sumo.
Sumo.
Yeah.
The one time that I like the fat ugly bastard, and he's the nicest guy in the cast.
Did you kind of get the feeling like that like this book, that was kind of the feeling I got, was like the book itself is, to me, it's like a commentary, right? It's like, okay, in almost every other light novel that's an isekai, what is the worst thing that girls talk about that could possibly happen to them? They become a prostitute. Right. Oh, if we don't succeed at this, I'll have to sell myself. Oh, if he captures us, we'll be sold as sex slaves or become, whatever. Like, and so this book's kind of like, well, F that. We're going to start off where my main character is A, not only a sex worker, but B, is actually kind of proud of it and is actually working to try and be good at it. And then, like you said, Flies, then you have the fat, ugly bastard character, and he's actually the most
I can only
decent.
assume that he's ugly just because he's described as fat, as like the fat guy, and there's no illustrations, which
but
I'm kind of glad there aren't any, because I feel like they would be kind of tasteless. Like there's a manga of this now.
There is,
but I'm afraid to even read it.
I've looked at it. It's it leaves not much.
Is it like Goblin Slayer levels of it's trying to make it sexy when it really shouldn't be?
Well, okay, but here's the thing: you can only like, I was curious because I was like, what exactly are they going to do with this? The only thing that they have out that you can preview is with Chiba, so it's not like she's with one of the guys who is mean to her. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not. So like, yeah, I mean, it's not sexy, but, it's not gut-wrenching like some of the stuff that happens is later in the book is.
Yeah, but from what I saw, the design isn't that good. Like, it's meh. It's like it's forgettable.
It's not. Yeah, like, I mean, the artwork is okay, but it's not like. I mean, honestly, there have been racier manga that were drawn better. But, I don't think that's I don't think reading the manga is probably the best way of going about things, because manga, like, visual mediums, are always going to sensationalize things more than the light novel does, right? Whether it be, Goblin Slayer, whether it be this one, JK Haru, whether it be, any number of them, right, that we've seen. Heck, we were even mentioning interspecies reviewers. We were talking about how the anime even went so much further than what the manga does. So it always seems like the visual medium, whether it be a manga or especially an anime, they always seem to push boundaries more with that kind of stuff to try to sensationalize it. And I think it's probably because as much as reading it makes you feel kind of uncomfortable and sick to your stomach on some things, actually seeing it usually has an even more visceral response. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Because when you picture it in your head, you can basically color it up or make it worse depending on your preference. But when it's actually like, when you're actually seeing it, it's like, damn.
Yeah, you have no choice but see it the way that it's been interpreted, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, but anyway, to me, it is kind of funny. You're right. Like the character who in so many other, whether it be hentai or whether it be, even other light novels, the character who is usually portrayed as one of the least desirables is actually one of the nicest guys in the whole series and has it together, like has a decent job, is actually like forward thinking in terms of how he treats the girls.
Like a lot of the men in this show are very much like meatheads. Like they're very much like, I'm strong, blah, 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 testosterone, without any really much forethought or rationality. They just do shit because they can.
Yeah, but it's a really kind of, they don't really like explore like the world in general, but you get the idea that it's a really even if there's magic and all, you get the sense that it's really a primitive type of world.
Unfortunately, not Sumo, Chiba was saying like even though it's a primitive world, they don't have a whole lot of industry that you could try to build up either. Like, it is primitive, but there's nothing really that you can be like, oh, so I'll focus on this and I'll bring this to this world.
Yeah, and that's why, like Flies earlier said that Haru, like, she kind of gratify herself by being like a sex worker. But the thing is, it's the only thing she can do. Like, if she wants to be independent, the only way a woman can earn money in that world is by being a sex worker.
Yeah, and they even explored, like, why she couldn't be a priestess. It was like, you had to do years of training and service. And I think by Haru's age, they probably would have been like, no, you can't do it at this point.
Well, like, doesn't she fake her age in the beginning?
She does.
Anyway?
Yeah, she does.
Like, she's only, like, 16 or something, and she says she's, like, 19 or something.
Yeah.
Which kind of confuses me, because this is a medieval setting, and you would think 16 is perfectly legal age already.
Yeah, she didn't know.
Well, because a lot of people didn't live that long, so they would try to have like
was different. Yeah,
as many kids as possible.
Yeah,
because some of them wouldn't make it.
In summer, you have that Loop became a prostitute at a pretty young age, and Kizua, well, she was born there, so she was always a prostitute. Like they don't tell when she started to work, but can get the guess that it was at a pretty young age. So.
Well, listen, in this city, there's a lot of various clientele and men of culture. So, I mean, she would have found work regardless of how old she was.
The only part of the book that I kind of felt like I like Haru as a character overall, but the only part of the book where I was kind of like iffy on Haru was the whole kicking the can chapter. Because, like, I don't know if it was supposed to be funny or something that she's flashing herself to win against a bunch of kids.
She's trying to get them hooked early so she has recurring customers. Then she could be like the Onisan and say ara ara.
Yeah, but not that much. Like, I get the feeling that chapter was her trying to explore other things, like other kind of she wanted to have like hobbies and stuff. Like she wanted to develop her life outside of work, like you would do in like modern day. But in that world, it doesn't work like that. So the only people she could like be acquainted with, well, were kids. Like she tried to do to start a sport. But,
I just found it kind of odd how she, like, I'm fine with her befriending kids, but then I found it kind of odd how she's like, I know how I'm gonna win this game. I'm gonna flash my panties to these elementary age kids, and they're gonna pop little boners and get distracted, and then damn, I get to kick the goal and the can in the goal, and I win. It just was like, what? I was like, what?
You know what I find weird about that fucking thing is that out of nowhere there was like, I might be remembering this like incorrectly, but then they became like this kick the can rules association, and they basically kick her out.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would. I mean, do you blame them?
Well, okay. They basically set it up that this is an actual like league kind of thing, and that's why. Now, I mean, okay, to justify this a little bit, Haru wanted to basically, she befriended these kids, and I don't know, I got the idea that they were like, just hitting into that 11, 12. I don't think they were like kids. First,
I
of all.
haven't read the first book in like a while.
Yeah,
so,
no, like like there's definitely the idea that these are boys that are hitting puberty is basically the idea. So basically,
them all they're young.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, the idea is basically is that she befriends these kids, and the idea I got from that chapter was that initially these kids accept her as a person. She's not a prostitute to them. She's not someone to be used or manipulated. They just kind of like her. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of that idea of validating her as a person outside of work. Right. And that eventually, yes, she does use her sex appeal to help them win. But it's because she finds out that like the one kid, it's like whoever wins, their parents can get like this bottling contract or something. Like they basically like basically the whole idea is that the kids are best friends and have been since they were the littlest ones, but they're going to be split apart if they don't win this because the financial pressure on the one kid's parents are going to cause them to move.
Yeah, their can is going to be like the main can for
of kick the can.
Yeah, because like wasn't it like the cans they were using were like the cans of the product that their family was like producing or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. And then if they won the competition, their parents would be able to like supply the cans for the competition all over the world or something like that. Yeah. So
like they would get funding maybe from the prize money and stuff.
And that was it. So it wasn't like Haru was like, I'm going to mess with all these kids' heads. It was that she was like, I want these boys to win because they're so kind to me and they're actually accepting me as just who I am. She's like, I want them to win. And so she's like, if I can find a way to make it happen, then I'm going to make it happen. So yeah, I'm going to wear, short shorts and I'm going to wear low cut top and stuff like that. And I'll mess with the other kids' heads, like that's how it is. and then, the head of the thing becomes one of her clients.
Yeah.
That was really disturbing, actually. You're right. I mean, when you read the book, that chapter seems very weird and out of place. And it does
but they could have just included that as like a side story in summer or something like that. I think it would have been better there. But
yeah,
it sort of showed. It sort of showcased the sort of like oppression that women get. Like even in say like if you take our world, like even in cultures that are incredibly patriarchal. Like, it's not that bad that they're going to, like, stop you from playing Kick the Can with a couple of kids. Like, that's fine.
I mean, the whole thing that they say that they're going to kick her out is because they realize that she's giving them an unfair advantage. But you're right. It does, like, in terms of its tone and stuff, it would fit better in summer because, I don't know how you guys felt about it, but I felt summer was a lot more lighthearted. Like, while it's a little bit more serious about looking at the... Chiba's sort of mentality and stuff. There's no sex in it. There's no like really intense violence or sexual violence in it. It is a lot. I'd almost read to be like it was like a fan work. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It was like, I really like these side characters and I wish we could do more with them. So I'm just going to write a whole book with short stories about the side characters because that'll be nice to do.
I like JK Haru Summer is like the light at the end of the tunnel in a sense.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, but I saw it more like a character growth novel, like a continuation from where it left off. But instead of focusing again on like the isekai stuff and the prostitution stuff, they focus on the character growth. Where do they go from there? And also, like every one of those characters, they try to better themselves. They try to better their society, and they're starting small by slowly grouping together. And that's what was interesting in summer.
I think it went a long way to show how, as Haru as a character, you can see where even in the first book that she's trying to make little changes along the way. Like, she's not like a protagonist who's like, I'm uber powerful, so I'm going to change the whole world tomorrow. She's like, you know what? Hey, why don't we put a picnic table outside of the brothel so during the day when we're not working, we can sit out there.
Yeah.
And, you know, people are just going to have to accept the fact that, yeah, guess what? We're actually people. We actually do stuff outside of work. We talk, we laugh, we eat, we drink, you know, like we're real people. You know, convincing Sumo to have like an outdoor seating area, like a terrace, because girls will like that, and having Sumo like learn to cook foods that girls will like sweets, and kind of getting his business sort of accepting the idea that, yeah, you know what, women are going to come here and eat without men. We don't need to be escorted by men everywhere, you know? Like, she does all these little incremental changes, little things, but I felt like Summer was kind of showing you how she had changed the ideas and opinions of those who were closest to her. Like that, there's that short chapter with Sumo that's told from Sumo's point of view, and really like very eye-opening in terms of how Haru has changed him in such a huge way, and how, you know, again, he's the overweight, sweaty character that, you know, wouldn't be popular in a lot of other things. And yet a lot of the girls, when we're looking at the stories from their point of view, they admire him. They admire the way he's gentle. They admire the way that he's an artist with his food. They admire the way that he's pushing himself and trying to become better at everything that he does. And, you know, and it's all because of Haru, right?
Even before that, the girls at the shop, they admired him when he saved Haru, the girls, the prostitutes there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like I mean, even in the first book, he's definitely set up as being the good guy, right? Like he is the good guy. Like he's the guy the girls know they can turn to and depend on, right? Like, and that's why like it's set up, I think, the idea that they feel comfortable going to his cafe because they know that he's there and he approves and he accepts them.
And he isn't going to like grab one of them and start shoving the rod in. Like he's just like, here you go, ladies, or here you go, customer. Food, here you go.
Yeah, exactly. He treats them he treats them with respect. And that's
he pays them money just to talk.
Oh yeah. And I think that's the you could say that this book is very anti-men in a lot of ways, but I think that that's the whole idea, is that it does present some male characters that have worth, that aren't, you know, just complete scumbags. It's showing that, you know, this world, people can change. They can start to have different ideas and stuff like that, and grow and develop.
And speaking of food, one of the moment I liked in Summer was the food fight. like the guys didn't want to try Sumo's new cookies or cake.
It was his cake. Because
the cake looked too girly.
Yes.
And like no guy's gonna eat that. And I don't remember who took it first. I think it was maybe Kiori or Aru. I'm not too sure, but one of them just took the cake and just threw it right in his face. And
you know, I'm surprised there was no cream pies in that chapter.
That would have been a good ending.
The guy had no choice but to taste it, and that's pretty good. Well, the thing is, you won't know if it's good until you try it.
But I thought was
pretty good.
What was even better was later on in the book, that dude is eating a piece of cake on the terrace after that, because he's actually gotten a taste for it.
Hey girl, try this one. It's really a good new one.
Yeah. So, like I liked it wasn't a one-off, you know. It wasn't like he just, the one chapter, he was like, oh, tastes good. It was like it actually carried on later on in the book, where it's like now he's gotten a taste for it.
Yeah, and like you said, like people do change in those books. So that's what's interesting. Like they're not just static. They evolve, they change, and kudos to the other.
And I think that's what I like about the how realistic it is. Like, I don't think it's realistic that like JK Haru, the prostitute, is like leading this great fucking revolution, you know, rise up and shit. No, she's just doing small things, and all those small things add up to big things. Like, you know, a lot of these men that act like assholes and douchebags, they're kind of like, oh, they're trying something different. Like, you know, they'll be a bit asshole-ish, you know, boys will always be boys and that kind of shit. But, you know, they're showing more sides to themselves and not always being like, you know, oh, there's a chick, grab her over and bend her over and stick the rod, and like, there's more to that because people are individuals and they can change, and it doesn't seem unrealistic. Like even in like medieval societies, which I mean, especially some of them that were more patriarchal than others. I mean, even that wasn't as oppressive towards women as this book is showcasing. And if you look at like some of the history books, like you can definitely see in some instances where it was lessening to an extent because people realize it's like this isn't like practical to be like fully oppressive towards like women.
You know, we can talk about the whole twist in sort of 2/3 of the way through the book when Haru unleashes, but
she finds her isekai power.
Yeah.
Should we talk about Chiba as well? Like,
we're gonna. Oh yeah, we should talk about Chiba.
Just before getting there's something really interesting about what Bio was just saying, and about change in the whole. Like the fact that you have two characters that are sent in the isekai. Like in most isekai, like you see the quote-unquote protagonist as being the hero for being sent in another world, and like the hero's job is to defeat like the demon lord or calamity, like deal with those people in the people of that world's problem. Whereas a lot of like newer isekai, and like in that case Haru compared to Chiba, she's not an hero in the sense that she's gonna like deal with every problem. She's like a trendsetter. Like she's there to bring change. She's not there to like beat every bad guy, and well, that will lead to like the big reveal. But
like Haru is the hero that we deserve, but don't. Haru's the hero that we need, but don't deserve.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the thing is that again, like the way I looked at this series, and I mean, Summer's a little bit different, obviously, but especially like the first book. When I looked at it, I was like, this is, like we have talked about how, other reviewers and stuff have talked about how this is a feminist work and stuff like that. And I'm certainly no expert on that. I think the thing that, once one of you has mentioned earlier is the idea that Haru could have been a wife. She could have been a farmer, but to be a farmer, she would have to have a farmer husband, and the whole idea is that this was the one avenue she had where control of her body was about money and was about choice and allowed her the freedom to make her own decisions. Whereas, husbands ruled in this world. If you got married, your husband had the say. If, you became a slave, you were even less. I think more than anything, there's certainly themes in this that you can see as being feminist. There's certain themes in it. But I really read this, and to me, it was more of a commentary on modern isekai where, yes, Chiba is put as the proto-male, right? The typical male protagonist, which, I mean, let's face it, so many isekai now are male-centric. He's the one given cheat abilities right out of the gate. He's the one that is positioned to supposedly be this hero who's making a name for himself with how strong he is. And yet, I think what this book does quietly is that the biggest changes that we're seeing happen in this world are being done by Haru, who's not doing it through force and not doing it through power. The only time we really see Haru's power is when she's using it for vengeance. She doesn't change the world. She's using it because of vengeance. The biggest changes we're seeing in the culture and in the way women view themselves and in the way some men are starting to view women and everything else, it's just because of her as a person. It's just because she has the willingness and the strength of character to speak up and to question and to, encourage other people and stuff like that. Like,
And that's like the complete opposite of Chiba. Like the only thing that's changing is his fucking ego. And and another thing I want to say is that he isn't really that strong. Like, yeah, he's got cheat abilities, but as far as character goes, he's a fucking pathetic little weakling. But another thing I want to say is that like people who are truly strong, like who are not just strong in character, but also like, you know, physically strong or powerful and shit like that, like they don't throw their power around, because here's a trick. It's the projection of how strong you are that makes you terrifying. Because if you can project if you can project your power onto other people, then you'll never have to raise a finger to anyone to prove that strength. Machiavelli and other various like political thinkers literally talk about it. It's not the fact that you can do something, it's the threat that you can do something. It's the possibility you can do it. Like, if you're, like, smash-mouthing powers and look like... If you're, like say in, a typical light novel show, like, if you're smash-mouthing powers left and right, and, oh, look how strong I am, like, you're just showing people... Yeah, you're showing people how strong you are, but you're also showing them your limits. Like, what happens if you don't show off all your powers? What happens if you only use basic stuff? It's just like... It's like, wow, if that's how powerful he is, just using the bare basics, like, how far does his power actually go? Like, and it's that mystery and fear.
But I think with Haru, what's interesting about it is that even though... So the big reveal ends up being that we discover that Haru... I mean, I couldn't believe friggin' Giga, like, posted this shit on Twitter. I was like, are you fucking kidding me, dude?
Did he? I don't remember this.
Yeah. So...
Oh, wait, was it because his wife was reading it or something?
He was just talking about, like... I can't even remember why he said it. But he was like, basically he tweeted, I was like, oh, if you're looking for a real something different, how about a light novel where a girl gets abilities by having sex with lots of dudes or something like that? And then he like linked to JK Haru. And I was just like, dude, you're making
spoiled the entire twist ending.
Like, you're just making this sound like this girl is intentionally running around having sex with as many men as possible to become a powerhouse. And it's not what this is about.
Well,
like,
even when it starts, she's already in the prostitution house by the time God comes. So it's not like yeah.
I'm sorry, Terrence, think about what you just said.
Oh god.
Oh god.
So, listen, Terrence, that gives a whole new meaning to kneel before the Lord.
Oh.
I think Haru should be promoted to the top of the house after she got off.
Well, like, really,
but
like that's probably next level, man.
So she didn't have the abilities, and she still decided to do this job before then, basically. And then she gets them, and it's not even like she can't even really use them because she's, still restricted by society in terms of what she can do, how she can adventure. So...
Well, if you think about it, like, her using her powers, if she had them, would be ineffective for her job. Like, she's saving them for a rainy day when she needs them. It's like what I said before. It's the projection of power. And there's a Chinese proverb that talks about this. Like, I think it's like, under every, like, rock, there's, like, a sleeping tiger and crouching dragon. And she's the crouching dragon or the sleeping tiger. Like, yeah, she's a pretty cool chick. But, don't piss her off. Like, if you seriously piss her off, she's going to fuck you up.
So basically the idea is that, yes, when she first gets the world, she has nothing. And she does sincerely become a sex worker because that she sees as her best option. And, and then she is visited by God who, yes, actually uses her services. I was like, what the hell am I reading now?
Well, didn't she kind of have... She had to, like, convince him, right?
Because he can't even remember, man.
I'm pretty sure he shows up twice. I'm pretty sure he shows up twice. And the first time, like, he kind of just talks with her and leaves without anything really happening. And that's when she, like, realizes that she might have, like, some deeper feelings for him.
That's the other guy.
No. That's
wait, am I mixing them up?
You're mixing them up, dude. You're mixing them up.
Shit.
No, God, like, shows up and is like, I'm gonna bone you, and he does it. Like, it's not... There's no, like, convincing needed. He's like, here's your money, get upstairs, let's go.
But the thing
Chad,
with God... The thing with God is that, like, when he gives power to Chiba, he doesn't give one to Haru because she's pouting in her corner. Like, he's barely afraid of going to talk to her and having her like upset and everything. So he just waits. And later on, he goes sees her as her in her workplace, and he offers her like a cheat ability after like the
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so basically, the ability ends up being that anyone who has sex with her, she can take whatever ability they have. So all the cheat abilities that Chiba has, she has them too, because he's had sex with her. and it just keeps going. And like, that's the one thing that sort of ends up in a way tying all of these. You're like, why did I read about all these friggin' customers? Well, that's where you find out, oh, well, that customer I got this ability, and this customer I got this ability, right? And it sort of is the one thing that kind of ties some of those stories together. Even the dude with the kick the can dude, she got an ability from, right?
She got a wicked good ability from him. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like one of the most OP ones. I think it was it wasn't like a motion breaker or something like that. It was like skill breaker, because he like broke the skills of people in the kick the can tournament that he didn't agree with or something. I don't know how that worked.
There was something that like she got some crazy ability from him, and like
Sumo had a wicked good ability too. It was like unlimited leveling. And so he's only going to use it for cooking.
But
you know, it's actually funny because Chiba could have used that unlimited leveling ability, but
and that's the thing, and that is where I kind of think that it's funny, and it kind of gets into it in Summer, right? Because Chiba has that whole thing in that second sort of in the actual Summer story in Summer. Chiba has that whole thing where he kind of comes to this realization that he was never meant to be the hero, that it was actually Haru who was going to get taken first.
Oh yeah.
Right? Remember that? He's like he tries to delay going to the truck to see, he's like, which of us was actually hit first? Because he's like, whoever was hit first was the hero, was the one that was meant to be taken to the other world. And it's Haru. And that's kind of like, you see, like Summer does not completely redeem Chiba.
No.
We'll all agree on that. But it does go but it does go further in making him a little less despicable than what he is. At least by the end of the Summer storyline, by the end of that story, he's finally kind of accepted the fact that he's been a stupid asshole, and that he's got to start working, and that he should actually put some effort into changing the world instead of just trying to get glory for himself and fighting in the Colosseum to feed his ego and all that kind of crap.
Yeah, like if he really wants to make himself likable, go out on a journey. Like, explore the world, make friends, make connections, because that's what Haru did. She made friends, made connections, and she got fucking superpowers out of it. So, and like, all he did was level up at the Colosseum. Yeah. And he wasn't even doing it for, say, like the fun of combat, because, you know, there are people like that, you know, who like to fight and like to get in the muck and grit. And if that was his character, that would have been fine. He's just like, well, I like fighting, so I'm going to go fight the Colosseum or fight some monsters, you know. I mean, that would have been fine if he was doing it for those reasons, but no, he's just like, oh, look how powerful I am, look how strong I am. I'm beating these guys, like there's no challenge, because he's fucking grinding before the boss fight. So obviously there is no challenge because he grinds his levels up before the boss fight. You know, it's like when you're playing a JPRPG and like before you do one of the main bosses, like, you know, there's going to be a boss fight coming up. Like, you grind up like 10 or 20 extra levels so the boss fight will be easy. I mean, he basically did that in the Colosseum. And the funny thing is that he fucking level capped, and I think level 90 or 80 or some shit.
Yeah.
91.
He level capped. So he can't even fight the fucking champion of the gladiatorial arena.
I think they do make it that he's hit the top level of what most people can hit naturally, unless you have an ability like Sumo, which is that whole breaker, which means you can just keep leveling indefinitely.
Dude, like Sumo, if he actually trained in the Colosseums, like, he would be one OP motherfucker. Like, give him a couple of years, and that guy would be like...
You remember that is that scene in Summer, remember, when all hell breaks loose in the cafe or whatever, and the guys are like looking like they're going to mistreat the women, and like Haru has actually taught Sumo how to sumo wrestle.
Yeah.
And she's
I remember.
she's like sumo, and he just like stomps like the big like sumo thing, and it scares the shit out of everybody, and stops like the whole thing because they all back off because they're like, oh crap, this dude means like serious business.
Yeah. Going back to Chiba a little bit, the him and Kiori or whatever, it's like the ultimate projection by Chiba when he's like, oh man, she's a dead lay. And like, look at yourself, dude.
I know, like, and that's, yeah, like, I mean, in the first book, Chiba is such a frustrating character. And then in Summer, that first story with him where he is like the most obnoxious, chuny dick, where it shows what he was like in our world before they were like isekai.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, I'm like, I could not believe they could make this character any less likable.
I'm actually surprised they didn't actually die when he got transported to the fantasy world. Like considering like a lot of the men in the series are kind of brutish, like I would have think that the first instant that he pissed someone off, he'll take like a battle axe to the head or some shit. But
like, I don't know, man, but yeah, seriously, like,
he's one lucky bastard, you know, like he ends up basically going out or having sex with pretty much every female lead in this story.
Well, he hasn't had, not with Lupe, not with Lupe. Is it Lupe or Lupe?
She takes him upstairs a few times.
No. Remember, he says in Summer that he hasn't done anything with her because he wants to make her, because he actually, and that's the one thing too that I thought, okay, well, that's slightly a redeeming quality, is where he actually says that. He's like, he realizes that his relationship with Haru, he's basically ruined because he has treated her like a prostitute and paid her to have sex. And he realizes that he actually wants to have a legit relationship with Lupe. And so he won't pay her to have sex. He won't use her as a prostitute because he wants her to see him as a man and not as a customer.
Yeah, and Lupe is like the trainer and teacher and motherly character to him, and that's kind of what he needs.
Hell yeah. And
I thought that he stopped buying Lupe, but
no, because she actually says that in Summer too, that she's like, I don't know why he's never bought me. She's like, I don't know why he spends so much time with me and yet never bought me.
Because I thought she brought him upstairs once, but I don't know. Maybe that was maybe they retconned it. I'm not sure.
No, I think they were just chatting, like they were going upstairs.
Okay.
And he didn't pay her and just like, come chat with me.
Okay, that might have been it.
Yeah, she doesn't. Yeah, they don't actually. I think that happens towards the end of the book, after the other sort of best friend of Haru dies, and that's what causes Haru to, unleash her limit break. And
that scene.
Oh god, that was just
it was awful. It was awful because she was so close to being saved, like earlier. Like,
and I think what really makes it awful is how unnecessary it was as well.
Yeah, I mean that whole trope of a girl literally being raped to death is just, but I think again, like, it's the author taking advantage of that, using that trope to basically give Haru an honest to God reason to unleash. Right? Because up until that point, Haru has never once even hinted that she has this ability. Like, and she, even once we realize she has it, she's basically like, yeah, I've kept it locked because I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be the hero. Like, I'm happy being what I am, I want people to see me for who I am as a person. I don't want them to see like this thing that I can do and try to use me and try to, all this kind of stuff. So it's the only thing it's the one thing the author, I guess, sort of gave in, because I mean, so much of the book breaks so many other tropes and breaks so many other conventions. It's the one sort of tropey thing that the author does that causes Haru to snap.
Yeah, during that whole thing, I think there's a few lines about how Shekriso was used as a tool by the men. And I was kind of thinking the author kind of used her as a plot device tool for the story, you know.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And you know, it was,
But-
that was a horrible, oh god, that was like
Like the
gut-wrenching.
worst thing is that in your head, when you're reading that part, you think that she's saved.
Yes.
And then like just the captain just come up in the room, says to Haru, "Oh, you're free, we're going out, and oh, by the way, go to the last
Room,
the last door of the corridor." Like, oh no.
Yeah,
no.
I saw it coming too. Like you could see that like way before. You saw it coming when she was like so giddy and so happy about, oh, it could be a marriage proposal. I was like, oh no, this is awful.
Yeah.
And
You're like,
I checked my notes and I had said to myself in my notes, I was like, I skipped ahead a few chapters to read it when I initially read it because I knew that was going to happen.
Oh yeah, like that's just horrible. Yeah. Oh yeah.
At that point, I didn't suspect a thing.
Really?
Like, I just
Oh, God,
went,
the red flags,
I just
dude.
went along.
The red flags
just-
were everywhere. Like, oh god.
I just went along. Like I don't know. I just
but you know what?
forgot.
But you know what
Not
kills
forgot,
me?
but forgone the flag and
Well, I mean, I was just like, oh damn. I didn't necessarily know if it was going to go that horrible, but I didn't think it was going to end well, you know? But yeah, when she said she was going to meet him at his place and then didn't show up again, I was like, oh god. Yeah. And then, Haru snaps and wipes all of them out. And of all the horrible scenes in that book, that was about the only one that I was okay with, honestly, was her wiping all of those assholes out.
Yeah, I was curious on the reread. I was curious, like, what she did to Shigerso's boyfriend. And so he had a skill that was like no emotion or something like that. And of course, she got the skill taker or skill breaker skill and uses it on him at the last second as he's dying in pain.
Yeah, to make him suffer.
Yeah.
I mean, Haru is just merciless. Oh my god, she is so merciless. And like
Bad to the bone, bad.
and then when that adventurer shows up later and he's like, not only did he's like, we don't know what the hell happened, but like an entire like unit of the military is wiped out and hundreds of demons too. Because after she kills all the soldiers, she hears the demons coming and she realizes, oh, well, no army to fight the demons. Can't have them come into the city, so get to work. Like, I just, But then what's so funny is she shuts it off, right? And then walks back and just goes back to work like she never had it to begin with. Like I said, it's just so interesting that you have a character that I think the author throws that in because she wants to say, look, I've set this whole story up so far that this girl is stuck in this situation because she had no other way of doing anything else. And then she's like, look, this girl could kill the world if she wants to. And yet, what does she choose to do? Lock her powers away, hide them away, and return to the people that she cares about, the life that she's making for herself. You know, like, I thought that was interesting.
She does use one last power when she comes back, which is the singing skill that she stole from the commander.
From the stupid commander. I was like, oh, are you kidding? Like, I loved, that was the one thing I was like, damn. So it's like, he didn't even have some badass, like, fighter ability or something. He could sing. It was funny to me how that whole scene kind of comes out of nowhere. But then once you find out, she's like, yeah, you know, when I had sex with that one guy, his ability was like a really nice ass or whatever. And you realize that, like, in the second chapter, people start commenting on how her ass looks better.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Remember, like, in the very beginning, they're kidding with her and they're like, oh, you've got no ass, and everything else. And then, like, a little bit later on, she says, like, you know, I made sure that the madam caught a look at my ass, and that's when she's like, Haru, you're now able to charge this much. And I was kind of like, well, so what's going on? Like, girl been eating some donuts or something? Like, or, you know, working out? Like what? Like, I don't understand. Like, you know, her booty just got hotter? I don't get it. And then you read, like, later on, and you're like,
she's bootylicious.
Well, yeah, like, that's what ends up happening. And it's the whole same thing with, like, the guitar, like, with the playing an instrument. You know, like, you're just kind of like, as you go along through the early stories, you're kind of like, I guess she's just learning these things because she has nothing else to do, or, you know, she's exercising or she's doing whatever, right? And then you get to that part and you're like, oh, I see what's going on. Like, she locks away her level and, like, the deadlier abilities, but all the little quiet things, like, I can sing, I can play an instrument, I got a hot butt, all that stuff is like,
and it's not like she can't use those abilities ever again. Like, she can, like, she's gonna, if she needs them, she'll bring them back out.
Oh, well, in summer she threatens Chiba with that, right? Remember, she's like, I'm gonna, like,
the level
bind, I'm gonna unleash it.
And I think like JK, like, Haru is one of those characters, like, you know, you have those characters who look normal and ordinary, you know, on various shows we have characters that seem normal and they seem like they don't know what's going on, but they actually do know what's going on, and they're actually, like, a secret fucking badass. It's like that guy. It's like a guy you meet who's in the bar and he's, like, really chill and stuff, and then you find out that he used to be, like, a super military black ops strike team fuck off, and he used to fucking murder people and gun people down, and he's just chilling with you having a beer because he's not about that life anymore.
Man, I don't know what bars you go to, Bio, but Jesus. Well, you know, but you're right.
Ones.
but you are right. Like, that is the character of JK Haru. And then actually, like, Haru, I mean, the thing I liked about Haru throughout the whole thing is that she has all these different layers to her, right? Like, you know, she comes across as very crass and very confident and everything else, but yet there's also those things where you realize, like, she's not an innocent character when the book starts. Like, she has actually been a prostitute in our world.
Yeah, so she had some problems in our world. Obviously, she had to do the prostitution. I forget what the exact term is for.
Yeah, it's like compensated dating, I think is what they call it.
It's a thing in Japan.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
And then it devolves sometimes into prostitution, which it did.
So she did it, if I'm remembering right, it was to pay off something for her sister. Is that correct? But she did the prostitution or whatever for a bit, and then got into legal trouble, and so they had to change her school system, so the rumors wouldn't go with her, but they still kind of do. They're in the background, and so then she has to kind of come up with her persona, which is, like, always, you know, happy going kind of personality. Gets a lot of friends. She kind of fakes her way to that popularity. So Chiba doesn't really understand, like, the hardship that she's gone through. That it's not just, she's always been on easy street.
Mm-hmm. And you see that in Summer, that last story, where Summer is just like JK Haru itself, which is kind of frustrating that the biggest plot points that get to the end all of a sudden just get dropped, and you're like, I don't even understand why we aren't, you know, like they drop that bomb, Haru's pregnant in Summer, and you're like, the fire, and then they never talk about it again. They just go with stories that kind of seem to take place before.
Yeah, in Haru there's a character, I think she ends up teaming up with them in Summer, you know, to hunt the Demon King. At least that's kind of the plot. And he said, you know, if you decide to side with the Demon King, I'll be your enemy. And so we're kind of left in a murky situation at the end of Summer to understand what happened. That she has the baby. They just had sex and she went home. Did she kill him? Like, I don't...
Yeah, like, whose kid is it? Is it like the bounty hunter guy? Or
there's no doubt.
Yeah, probably the Demon Lord, but, like, it's not explained. Like, it's like it opened the doors to another volume.
Oh, yeah,
more or less.
Yeah, but do you remember actually in JK Haru, the first book, she confronts God and she's like, how do you say her name? Shakusore?
I say Shegreso, but that's
Sh-
not right.
Yeah, Shekreso, but it's a
Shekreso?
bunch of letters
Yeah,
that doesn't
it
go
doesn't
together.
really. Yeah, it's hard to decide
One
how
of
to
those hard
pronounce
to
it.
pronounce.
But when she dies, remember Haru confronts God, and she's like, in a story after that, and she's like, in one of the times that God comes to use her services. Jesus. Anyway,
A return customer.
yeah,
That's always a good sign.
and she says to God, she's like, you better be taking care of her soul. And making sure that her next life is a good one. And he says, well, she's already decided who her mother will be. So,
Oh, yeah.
So right there,
Oh.
I'm like, Haru is going to have a baby some point, and it's going to be her. It's going to be the reincarnation
That's
of
pretty crazy.
her friend. And so,
I didn't remember that
Yeah.
bit.
yeah, and wasn't Shiger, so didn't she have red hair?
She did. Yep. She had.
'Cause you remember-
She had orangish highlights in her hair. Yeah.
So you remember in summer, Lupe is doing an orange cap for the baby.
Ooh.
Oh.
Ah, right. See, it all comes together. So I think like, and remember, like the Demon Lord was talking about that whole thing. He's talking about when he's visiting her as the Rainy Man. He's kind of talking about like how his family's been wiped out and all this kind of stuff, and like it's all about anger, right? About how the world has treated him, basically. And I mean, we don't know what happened, but clearly I'm going to say she's pregnant with the Demon Lord's baby. And I'm kind of wondering if either she killed him or if she somehow finally sort of stopped his rage to the point where he could let go. You know what I mean? Like, because she does kind of, because it's Kiori, the girl that initially like was with Chiba, and then, basically says she'll dirty herself however she needs to become strong enough to fight to fight beside Haru. And that was actually a really crazy thing that happened in summer too with Kiori. But anyway, Haru says that when she's facing the Demon Lord, she's like, I'm sorry, Kiori, like, this is probably going to seem like a betrayal, but, yeah, you're right. Like she was talking about that. Yeah, it was kind of interesting. It was kind of interesting in summer that they had a gay character. I didn't think that would happen in this society, but
Yeah.
Like, and the way like they brought that character, like at first you think he's just another like douchebag character, and the more they develop him, my God, that character is interesting, man.
I didn't think they'd explore that because in JK Haru was talking about how she couldn't get like some of the skills from women. Like, of course, I can't get them. Like, I don't know. Like, I think you could get the skills from a woman, maybe.
well,
I don't know what the logistics of that are.
We're not going to get into the technicalities of how that might work, dude. That's we're already demonetized enough. We don't need to make it worse. We don't need to make it worse.
Listen, if we demonetize this channel enough, like Justus will lose his house.
like the video being demonetized is bad enough. Let's not strike the whole channel, okay? Because we can discuss that when we're not like recording. Anyway, but I thought that was really it was interesting, the different characters that were introduced in summer, like that dude, and like you think the whole time you're like, oh my God, we're gonna have another horrible rape scene, and then he's like, I have no interest in you because I like dudes.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, what? He's like,
plot twist.
and he's like, I was just gonna have you strip, and then I was gonna throw you out and embarrass you for being naked. Like I was never gonna lay a hand on you.
Yeah, like it was just testing her determination, basically.
Well, yeah, and
It's just a prank, bro.
Well, I mean, she makes, because the whole thing is like he's so angry and doesn't want to have anything to do with it. But then when she basically stands up and she's like, I don't want to be strong just because of this or that. I want to be strong because if a woman can go in and help defeat the Demon Lord, then other women will realize that we can be strong and that we can do things that change the world. I would say Kiori's speech is probably one of the most feminist things in this series, really, is that whole idea of, it's about being strong and leading the way for other women to see that they can be strong and that they can do things that change the world and they can do things that'll make the world better. They don't have to just be meek and kind of weak and defer all the time to the decisions of men and everything else. Like, and that's what impresses him. And he's kind of like, and I think he kind of, because his character is that whole thing from the cursed people, right? Like, I think he kind of sees the same idea that, you know what, women are kind of going through the same thing. They're oppressed, they're controlled, they're looked down on. And here's this girl who kind of wants to do what I wanted to do, which was to get my people to a better place. Like that's why he decides to teach her. And eventually, she does go with them on the adventure against the Demon Lord, which we're led to believe is obviously a success, because when Haru comes back, remember they're talking about the rumors that there haven't been demon sightings, that there's been less problems and all this kind of stuff. So you are led to believe that Haru succeeded, but yeah, she's pregnant. And then all of a sudden, boom, we're not going to talk about that ever again for the rest of the book.
No, listen, Haru's child or children, they'll be featured in a book, because they will grow up to be as extreme as Dante from the Devil May Cry series. Half human, half demon.
Yeah, but the thing is, Haru comes back with Kiyori, but we don't know about the other dudes, and we don't know about the Demon Lord.
I can't remember.
What the hell happened?
I know, I'm pretty sure that she at least mentions that that old adventurer that was kept trying to pick up Haru. I'm pretty sure she at least mentions that he came back with them.
Yeah. Okay.
I think, I seem to think there was if it was a one-off. It wasn't made a big deal of at all.
No, it was maybe a line that I read quickly or something.
There was also FUD in the story, FUD going around from Chiba about if you defeat the Demon Lord, you might be able to go home. Obviously, that doesn't pay off, or, well, we don't really know, obviously, whatever happened there.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, because they're talking about the first hero who came that that guy killed. And that was kind of interesting too, was that whole, again, it's this series sort of saying typical isekai heroes are douchebags. Because again, that was another male character who came and had all these cheat abilities and was a hero. And what did he do? Got a harem and basically became a dictator and all that kind of stuff.
Another thing that I found it a bit sad. What happened with Chiba and
Dick?
The other girl, huh?
Dick?
Yeah, Dick and Kizua.
Yeah, so that kind of reminded me of Stranger Things too. It's been a while since I watched it, but there was the kid in that tried to take care of this demigorgon monster that is supposed to be super evil, and he's like, oh, but it's just a baby, and that kind of reminded me of Dick this whole time. Taking care of this demon thing. I don't think that's the greatest idea.
I honestly think it was just, it was just an excuse for a million double entendres.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, that chapter was the second to last.
Yeah.
And it's a bit the same thing as the first book, where when you learn of Haru's power, you kind of flash back a little bit, and then every loophole kinds of fits in.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
And same thing with that. And with the chapter where Lupe, she has to manage the brothel, and she has problem doing it. And at the end, you see Kizua, who is the top girl, she goes on stage and she has the blue flower.
Yeah.
And the fact that when she throws the flower, it explodes. When I read the last chapter of Chiba, I was, holy shit, it's their relationship just exploded in that chapter, man. It's like Kizua said, fuck you, Chiba, I'm not seeing you ever again.
Listen, baby, this might be crazy, but I'm not seeing you ever again, so leave, maybe.
No.
But again, that's where I think Chiba, that is where they try to make his character a little bit better, right? Because that's the same thing. He won't have sex with Kisua, right? He won't take her up. He won't pay for her. And she actually says to him, remember, she's so if I wasn't a prostitute, would you sleep with me? Right? And he's like, but that's not exactly what I'm getting at. But like, but yeah, like their relationship was really weird. It just felt like, it just felt like she was playing him, and when she kind of got the idea he wasn't going to give her what she wanted, whatever that was the end, But what I found interesting about that is that it kind of makes you see things in a different light. Because you were saying that, like with Lupe, when we read that that story with her running the brothel, Kisua was like this brat to her, and it seems like she hates Lupe and all this kind of stuff. And then, like, when you read that thing with Chiba, it's more like she's jealous. She's like, Lupe's my mother. Lupe's going to take care of me. And
there's that, but also there's the fact that she doesn't like Haru because she has a similar personality, and because Haru kind of took Lupe away from her.
Yeah. It was just, again, like, it's very interesting. The book reads very much still like a web novel, right? With each story kind of being self-contained and everything else. But eventually they do get to this story that kind of brings it all together. But then, like, it ends. That's basically where it ends. And everything else after that's just kind of like side stuff that you're like, okay, well, that's great, but I want to know what the hell happened after.
Yeah, like the Christmas thing was nice, but
who cares, right?
Yeah.
I think the final part of the volume 2, doesn't it say something like this was published in like a magazine before? So it's kind of tacked on, I feel like it was. I'm not saying that it's not great to have in there, but it was kind of tacked on.
Well, it said that it was bonus material, so...
Like JK Haru, the first book, I think the ending was more frustrating than Summer because it really literally just ended. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, this is JK Haru signing off for now. Bye-bye. Like, you're just like, what the... Like, what? Right? And then, like...
it's not even volume 1, and it's a one-shot. Like...
Yeah, at the time.
How the hell are you ending like that?
Yeah, like at the time we were like, this is a one-off and that's how you're ending it? What the fuck? And then, but at least with Summer, I kind of felt like, because it started off with Chiba in our world leading up to the truck, and then it ends with Haru in our world leading up to the truck. And so I was kind of like, well, at least there's a little bit of symmetry there, because we're seeing like how each of them kind of saw themselves in our world before, they were taken away, right? And you do get that, you at least get that insight into Haru. Like, we've always known Haru was probably a little bit more serious and a little bit more sad.
Snarky.
Well, like in our world, you do get the idea that, yeah, like she had more going on in her, like she wasn't some just like bubble-headed popular girl, that there was like a weight and a sadness to her. And yeah, like you get that in that story where she's talking about like, how she hates a lot of this stuff and how she can't be bothered with these games and everything else. And yet, well, I'll put on my smile and go along like everything's fine, like I thought it was at least decent that it gave us a little bit more insight into who she was. And then when you compare that to where she is after these 2 books, I mean, it's like this big, huge character growth and advancement,
Yeah, and like I think it's in Summer, like at the end, Lupe says that since the death of Shikraso, like Haru has been crying and opening up more. Like it's like she closed off her emotion before, and after that event, like she kind of let go.
Well, and I kind of wonder if maybe that was because of the whole, letting go of her powers and basically unleashing. I think maybe like you could say that was a bit of a catharsis, you know what I mean? Pretty vicious catharsis, but still. But yeah, like definitely you do see development in these characters. And that's where I liked Summer, because I liked some of these side characters in JK Haru, but we really didn't get a lot from them. There was only that sort of short story with Kiori near the end there. But this one, like Summer, I mean, hardly any of it was, I think, like one and a bit of the stories was from Haru's point of view. And other than that, it was all these other side characters. Like I said, I actually really liked Summer. It was sort of the more feel good part of JK Haru as opposed to the first book, which most of it was cringy, uncomfortable, depressing. Yeah, like
The first book was a roller coaster.
oh God, like, and I mean, then the thing is that I think like intuitively when I was reading it, I'm like, I think this is a really good book. I think it has a lot to say about isekai. It has a lot to say, like, whether we can argue like the argument about whether it says something about women is beyond me, but but it definitely is saying something about light novels. It's definitely saying
I mean, if it is saying something, it isn't saying much about it. Like, it's just saying like, hey, being a sex worker kind of sucks. Like, would you want to do this?
Well, I think
Would you?
But even that, like, Haru still wants to continue doing her job, so it's not like it isn't painting a pretty picture, but it's also not saying, oh, Haru is gonna get out of this and do something else. Like, she actually enjoys the job, so I don't know.
It's weird how it does it, right? Yeah, like, because that's the whole thing. It's like Haru takes pride in it, and you always get the sense that she wants to be the best she can be, and yet you're like, like, I can't imagine how you're not like, I mean, it's like you said, it is a roller coaster. Like, the whole time you're like, I feel really uncomfortable. Like, the book makes you feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I think that's the point of it. Like, how awful would it be if they made this stuff like pleasant?
Oh, well, yeah, it'd be trash. I mean, let's face it. Like, if you turn this book into like what your typical, rapey hentai is, I mean, it wouldn't be worth talking about, honestly. The reason it's worth talking about is because, like we said, we can talk about the idea of, I think having that character of Chiba really emphasizes the point of how this is trying to compare isekais and comparing the idea of heroism and the idea of how can you change culture and everything else, and like this idea that, oh, like, I came here with cheat abilities and so I can just do whatever the hell I want, and then you have this character who has cheat abilities but yet is just trying to do the best she can in the world and keep her friends safe and try to help her friends be the best people they can be. You know what I mean? Like, I think the whole idea is that, like, Haru as a character is constantly trying to lift other people up, and Chiba is only worried about himself. And that's why, like, as a character, he sucks so much. And, like, even at the end in that second story where it's like he actually makes some progress and he starts realizing that he's been a douchebag, and he starts realizing that he's squandered so much of his time in this world only worrying about himself. And he's sort of like, you know what? I want to make this world better for, like, Haru, for Lupe, for all women. I want to do this. You're like, that's noble. But at the same time,
like, he literally squandered most of his potential on fucking ego trips, which, by the way, the ego is temporary, all right? It's just fucking feel-good chemicals in your brain to make you feel good about shit, all right? Ignore that shit. Ignore ego. I know it's hard, but you try, because it's just going to lead you astray.
I think there's still that sense of selfishness to it all, is why you don't sort of walk away going, wow, Chiba's actually become a good guy. You can see that he's starting to grow, and you can see that he's starting to get better, and maybe it's because Lupe's there to kind of, like, swat him on the head and say, get your crap together. Like,
Well, like in during like the Dark Ages and stuff like this whole notion that women didn't have any authority or power is incorrect. Like the woman would usually be like a stabilizing factor in the husband's life. Or say, for example, if a king is, very aggressive, or like a husband's very aggressive in their job, the wife would sometimes sit him to a side and try and calm him down, or say like, here's another idea, and the husband would be like, You're right. We need to do something else. Like,
yeah, no, I see what you're saying. It's that. Well, I mean, it's that old. What's that old story? The old thing, right? Behind every powerful man is a good woman, or whatever. Like,
because when your husband's being a bit too aggressive or being a bit overly zealous, the wife can come and calm him down, and dear, calm down. And he's like, you're right. I let my anger. I shouldn't be angry at this moment. I mean, and it's true. You need a counterbalance. You need someone to sort of. You need a counterbalance to balance you, and you need to balance her as well. Yeah, and it's very much a give or take.
Yeah, I do think that Summer tries to go a long way to at least make Chiba tolerable. I don't, like I said, I don't think it makes him a likable character. I don't think it completely admonishes him. But, at least
it explains where he's coming from.
Well, it makes it certainly better, right? Like at least, you see, like I said, the book summer starts off with Chiba being such a chuny dick. And then, you have that, and then that end summer story where it's like they use a lot of the same, like they retell the whole thing of him tripping out and seeing his last day or whatever it is. And he finally seems to start having some breakthroughs about who he was as a person and how it perverted his idea of what he should be in this world. But like you said, like he thought, because he was this chuny otaku jerk and thought he was superior to people, when he got to this world, he was like, yeah, this is my free ride. This is what I've wanted. And then when it stopped being a free ride, he got all depressed and like started being an idiot. Oh, I hit the level cap and if it's so hard to try and advance even a little bit, why should I even bother if I don't have cheat abilities? And I was like,
I could pick up some weights, but no, that's too much work.
Right? I just want
to
punch him in the face.
Like in fucking real life, like my body is like almost like crippled. So what I do is I go on walks and I do push-ups to basically try and return back what I had lost, because I had a sickness that basically nearly killed me. And, it's hard. I feel pain, but at the same time, I'm doing it because if I don't do anything, it's just going to get worse.
Well, and I think and that's the problem, is that Chiba, it really is holding up these two characters and saying, here's this guy who was given cheat abilities and he knew about it right from the start, and he squandered it because he thought he was having an easy ride. And here's this girl who initially thought she had no ride whatsoever. She had to figure out what she was going to do and had to pick, a pretty tough choice. But, she's making the best of it and working hard to do the best that she can with what she has. This guy is squandering everything he has and is wasting it, and I think it really does kind of make you it makes you very aware of just all the faults with Chiba, because you do have a character like Haru who makes it so obvious that he's terrible. And I mean, it's not even that she's a perfect character. Like sometimes, she acts in a way or says something that you're kind of like,
she's a flawed character that's realistic. Like she's a human fucking being.
Yes.
You make mistakes, you do stupid shit. I mean, if I could list the amount of stupid shit that I've done in my 23 years of living on this planet, I mean, I'd have a list as thick as a fucking full-page novel.
Oh, buddy, I'd have several volumes of encyclopedias. Don't worry about it.
I mean, there's probably going to be more encyclopedias at some place, but, I mean, you get what I'm saying. I mean, she's an actual realistic character. Like, Haru seems like a woman or a chick that I would know in real life. In fact, I've met people like her. And it's good times. It's fun. It's fun.
And I think that's why the book probably, in the end, certainly with the first book, with all the horrible stuff that does happen in it, it's because Haru's voice is so strong. It's because, she is a strong character that you're able to kind of stomach it. You know what I mean? Like,
and she's got a bit of like a street savviness as well. Like she's got that sort of streetwiseness about her, which I kind of dig. Because, I grew up in sort of like a rougher area. So,
and well, I think it makes it, I think it makes it a little easier to take, because if she was like some pure innocent girl who'd never had anything bad and then got shoved into this world, like that would just make it even worse. You know what I mean? Like
she would be like the fucking damsel in distress, and it would just get really boring really fucking fast.
Well,
it's like,
like I think that is kind of the cool thing. Like Haru is looking to rescue herself. She's not looking for someone else to save her. She's not looking for someone else. Like we said, like Chiba in the first volume is like, yeah, come be my slave. And she's like, the fuck, like what the hell?
If Chiba really wanted to save her, he could have just said like, hey, be my companion. Like we can travel the world together. We can travel the world. Well, travel, make things better for everyone else. But no, fuck that shit. He's like, nah, fuck that.
He doesn't even offer for her to be his wife. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't even say to her, like, you know what? We're the only people who know each other in this world. Like, I don't want to be with anyone else. Marry me. Like, he doesn't even offer that.
Buy me dinner first before you try to fuck me. Goddamn.
Right, yeah, right? But, like, he doesn't even offer her that. It's be my slave. So you could tell, like, again, it's all that selfishness, right? It's that idea that you can tell he wants a harem. And that's why he wants her to be a slave, because if she's his wife, then he might have to try and be monogamous. But if she's just a slave, he can do whatever he wants.
She's step
Dude,
one.
you can still
to
be
me being the
monogamous and
harem
have a
king.
harem.
Chiba wants to be like his favorite hero in Isekai light novel. Like he wants to have like all the benefit, but
none of the effort.
Not the yeah.
Well, and yeah, like I said, like when you read the book, if you pick it apart, it is not a sensationalist book. The sex that it has is not there to in any way tantalize. I mean, it is there to, like you said, to show like the good, the bad, and the horrible of what Haru is going through, which, you know, makes you appreciate her as a character more, that she is going through this and yet still trying to find happiness and trying to do the best she can. And yeah, it's a difficult series. The first one's difficult. The second one, like I said, it reads much more like the author was like, you know what, enough doom, gloom, and horrible sex scenes. I just want to write some nice stuff in this world. Like, I want characters to smile.
I like that. It was very good. It was very good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a nice change of pace. And like I said, you know, it was nice to see characters that we liked in the first book actually get more screen time, and to actually see how their lives were being improved because of their relationships and stuff, as opposed to, you know, like terrible, horrible stuff that makes you feel sick to your stomach.
Yeah, and the world isn't really that linear as far as like shit, like bad shit happens, good shit happens. I mean, unless you've like hit, like unless you're one of those people who, I guess maybe in a previous life, like pissed someone off so bad that you're just cursed forever. But, you know, like, the world isn't just a linear misery train.
No, it shows that and like I said, it does show that there are improvements happening. And yes, they're small and they're slow, but they're coming, you know. It's not like, you know, there is progression. Like when we have JK Haru, when we start off with that book, everybody looks in horror that Haru would go alone to a cafe. And yet when we get into summer, it's happening regularly. Lupe's going to the cafe alone. Haru goes to the cafe alone. The girls go in a group together. Like, even in that sort of social thing, there's been progress. Even when Haru puts the picnic table out front, initially that's made out to be almost scandalous that she's doing it. And yet it seems to be a nothing thing by the time you get to the end of summer, right? That's the picnic table, you know?
I respect like definitely like the slow progress. The only thing is that we only have 2 volumes of this, and this might be it.
Yeah.
This might be it. So you kind of just have to imagine what the progress is going to be, you know, years from now.
And I'm kind of saddened by that, because I kind of want more. Like, JK Haru is one of those series that leaves you hungry for more. Like, I want to see, like, I would love to see, like, Haru as a mother. Like, that'd be a fun little, like, book to go through. Like, her going through the tribulations of, you know, being a mother, or maybe we get to meet the father, her husband, who possibly could be the demon lord. I mean, that could be a cool story.
There's so much stuff that we know has happened, but we didn't know how or what, or, you know what I mean? Like, you could write almost a whole book just on them getting to the demon lord's castle and whatever the hell happened while she was there. That could be a whole thing in and of itself. And yeah, we don't know any of that. We just know that she made it back. I kind of, now again, you know, who knows, but we might get more, because so JK Haru is a sex worker in another world was published by a Japanese publisher. And what I found so funny was Sam saying how that publisher took heat, not because they published a book about a Judy Koshi doing like sex work in another world, but because they published an isekai because they're known as a sci-fi company. I was like, Japan, you know, your outrage is somewhat oddly placed.
Listen, the Japanese are people of culture, all right?
Well, they you know, well, we won't get into it. It just goes to show you like how like fanboys of various things can find reasons to be angry. You know, it's like, we're not angry because of sex, we're angry because of like it's not sci-fi sex. You know, like, I don't know. Anyway.
Come on, give us more Legend of the Galactic Heroes. I want to see Reinhard crash his ship again.
Yeah, well, it's the same company.
Or have like 5-episode dialogues about democracy and autocracy.
Well, I was gonna say, I think it's actually the same company that published both.
Hayakawa, I think so.
Yeah, like
Oh, fuck yeah.
Like, I think it's actually the same company. Anyway, whether it is, regardless, I thought that was funny. But, so JK Haru Summer was actually published by the author themselves as a doujinshi. And then I guess J-Novel Club, because of the success of JK Haru, went through the publisher to arrange to publish this themselves. And now the actual publisher has created brand new artwork, and they are publishing JK Haru Summer.
Yeah.
So they are releasing Summer now, which was initially like an independent release. They are releasing it, like actually publishing it in Japan. So to me, I'm kind of like, well, if they're spending the money to do artwork that matches for each volume, and they're reissuing it and publishing it, maybe there is more interest, and maybe there will be more.
So this one, I think there was a lot more interest in the West on this one, I think. And I think that interest made people in Japan curious because so many people were reading this and had good impressions of it. So I think it was kind of a reverse kind of thing where...
Well, didn't JK Haru end up on like the Kono light novel Ga Sugoi this year?
I think it did, yep. And it also, it had like this huge sales spurt too in the West. I think it got featured in a video on somebody's channel, YouTube channel. And it flew like up the top sales rankings like a few months after, or year after it had been released. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it is one of those series that it's one of those books that people seem to just kind of rediscover as they go along. It's definitely not for everybody. Not by a long shot is it for everybody.
This book is rated for men of culture 16 and up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but you know what? I think I don't think it is a book that a woman could read too and enjoy. I don't think it's just men. Like, honestly, it's, in fact, I'd say there's a lot in here that women are going to get out of this book that a lot of men won't. Like I said, I think the fact that it does finally say, hey, there's women with power, and again, they don't even have to be the most badass, powerful person to have power. They can change things just with influence and by trying to build others up and encourage others and stuff like that. I think there's a lot of really positive messages in this. It is just getting through the tough stuff.
One of the other messages I felt like, Haru, obviously we get the revelation that she's got these skills. They helped her, to survive at the brothel and through like torture and everything. But there were other girls, with her that were going through similar things, and yet they were able to survive and they had no powers as far as we know. So I think it still shows, how powerful these other women that are working with her are to be able to survive some of those ordeals too.
When her friend, like, again, I don't like what that, like, that was awful, but her friend knew what was going to happen and she came back because she hoped that she could get Haru released. It shows that, how deeply they cared for each other and want to protect each other. And you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, it is definitely a series that is, a little is hard to read at times, but I think if you allow yourself to see sort of the bigger picture of it, there's a lot that you can appreciate in it, especially, like I said, if you're well versed in current isekai tropes and everything else, you'll see tons of stuff where this book is kind of poking fun or sort of twisting typical things around and stuff like that. Like, it does a lot of that, which I found really interesting too. So I would love to see the author interviewed. I don't think there aren't even afterwards in these things, are there? I don't think.
There's a small interview at the end of the physical book.
Oh.
But there's there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. So.
Oh, is there? And that's of the print volume? Because I don't think that was in the. Yeah. I don't think that was in the ebook.
No, I don't remember it being in the ebook, but it's at the end of the physical one.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, it's not in the ebook. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, the ebook has nothing. Like, there's no afterward, there's no author's message, there's no nothing. So, like, you don't even know what the author was thinking or, what their intention was. So, so it's been up just speculation at this point, unless some of that stuff is answered in the print edition. I don't know. All right. So it's been it's been about 2 hours. So I think we've probably talked enough about JK Haru.
Yeah, and I've got to go to D&D in about an hour. So,
well, we need you to get ready and powered up for D&D. So we won't keep you any longer. So in any case, dear listeners, we have no idea what we're going to talk about next. we started talking about it at the beginning, and just before we started recording, we were like, I don't know.
We could do No Game, No Life.
Well, there's like 4 or 5 series we're throwing around. No Game, No Life, ReZero, but we think we might do ReZero when it's closer to when the new season premieres.
I say we just don't reveal anything, because if we pick one series and then something happens and we end up doing another one instead.
From now on, there will be no sneak peeks. You'll just have to show up and find out what we do. Surprise! So our next episode, tune in and see what happens. Hopefully it'll be something you'll want to hear. In any case...
You'll be like, surprise, we tricked you. But you're still going to give us some money because you donate to Justus Our Stone's Patreon.
Oh, jeez.
Promote the Patreon.
Oh, man. I'm very bad at pimping my stuff, I have to admit. Anyway,
you gotta be like Rook from Dendrogram. You gotta pimp.
I could learn a thing or two
Dude,
from that kid.
Like fucking 9 volumes in, and I still don't know why he got the pimp class.
It's one of those mysteries that will play out until the last volume, man.
I mean, even though we know a bit of his backstory, it still doesn't explain why he has the pimp skill. I mean, you could explain it with the fact that, like, he's a teenager and stuff, and, you know, he's a teenage boy, and that's what teenage boys think about, but at the same time, like...
It's weird.
Are you disappointed in Barbie Master? Please don't.
All right, so until the next episode, thank you, gentlemen, for joining me tonight, and thank you, listeners, for listening. We will see you in our next episode. Till then, bye-bye for now.
See ya.
For show notes and related links, visit lightnovelpodcast.com.